Oh my fucking god! You're gonna get me
I get
to
it.
shit on that entry! You got
Hello there, welcome to the Messick Theatre. I'm nobody.
I'm nobody either. I don't know who I am.
Yeah, Sean, I'm not a person either.
And I too am no one.
There's no hosts to this show.
No,
No hosts at all.
just a series of presenters.
As you can see, it's just an empty room.
Much like the 2019 Oscars.
Well, roll credits, okay. No, but seriously, I am Major General Alan Iverson.
And I'm Cyberdroid. And I'm Vitaloco.
Oh, and I'm Frank.
I'm still Major General Alan Iverson. Did I already do that? Did we do that already?
Yes, you did. That's fine.
Alright, great. Yes, we're talking about the Oscars. We're going to discuss the Kevin Hart hosting controversy, the no-host controversy. We're going to discuss the cinematography and editing controversy, and we're going to discuss a couple of the films themselves, which is what we're going to start with. So, with no further ado,
So for Best Picture, we have Bohemian Rhapsody, The Favorite, Black Panther, Black Klansman, Green Book, Vice, A Star Is Born, and Roma. And many other categories, but that's all we care about for now.
yes. So, I don't know if any of you have any particular favorites or any ones you want to talk about. So you guys.
Black Panther!
Yes, Black Panther.
Black Panther! Hey!
Green Book!
Bohemian Rhapsody! Vice!
The Star Is Born!
Roma!
Black Klansman.
Klansman!
Alright, Black Panther. It's very, very good movie. Positive note, it's a very good movie for what it is. For a Marvel movie. Superhero, yes. It deserves every Oscar, I think, except for Best Picture.
Thank you!
Yes, and I think that the Oscar fucked up because they had that idea for Best Popular, and now they took it away, and now all the Best Pictures are pretty much Best Popular. Because every movie here, except for maybe two that are actually like traditional Oscar worthy, are somewhat Oscar worthy, but they're not the best films of the year.
So, I disagree, somewhat. I think that all the other films that are nominated for Oscars make sense. I don't think any of them are particularly popcorn films. I think that what the popular category for the Oscars shows is that the Academy did not want to nominate Black Panther for a traditional Oscar. They were giving this as a consolation prize, and people had a backlash against it. And they were like, oh, okay, we won't have a popular category, and because they didn't want more of a backlash, they ended up nominating it. And I think that this comes a bit, it's a fine film. This comes from the Oscar so white controversy and that sort of desire for this film that speaks to some level of black culture and black art. But there are already two other films that do a better job of that. Black Klansman I saw, which I thought was very stylized, very Spike Lee. Green Book is, again, speaking to that experience. And so I don't know if it's super necessary. It means a lot to a lot of people, and I respect that. Yeah, I don't know. I think that the fact that they wanted to give it its own category means that they didn't think it's worthy, and they're just pretending to.
And jumping on your point, I think there are two other films I can think of that were directed by an African American director with a mostly African American cast. If Beale
Street could talk.
If Beale Street Could Talk is a good example of that.
That seemed like it was going to be nominated.
I thought it was going to be nominated. It's Barry Jenkins, like fresh off Moonlight.
James Baldwin, isn't it?
Yes, it's based on.
It's a black movie, guys.
Again, you guys are gonna get me up. See my white animation just blinking and nodding as you say this stuff. I'm gonna get in trouble. You guys are gonna be fine. I'm gonna get private messages.
And the other one is Widows, directed by Steve McQueen.
No, that sort of flew under the radar.
It did, but it got great reviews, and it was a pretty good film too.
I don't know if it was Oscar worthy.
It wasn't, but
Beale Street, though, it seemed like it was begging for one.
And it was before the Liam Neeson racism.
Yeah.
oh, that controversy, right?
That's a separate.
That's an entirely separate video, yeah. But so my point, jumping off you, Frank, I think Black Panther again, like both of you said, is a pretty good film for a Marvel film. I think it has a good character, it had a good villain, a great world, but as a whole, I don't think it's Oscar worthy. When I think of Best Picture nominee, you think of the best of the best, and if you're gonna give any popcorn flick that prize, I think it's Infinity War.
Vita, he's trying to get us fucked up. He's dragging us into some shit that we're not going to survive.
Honestly, I kind of can agree with that. If we're going to give points to the Marvel blockbusters that are all about freaking superheroes fighting the bad guys, Infinity War!
Yeah, because
Infinity War!
So I have a question. So when you think of the year 2018, what film pops up in your head?
Roma! Because it's important!
Yeah, so I definitely agree with you all about Infinity War being far better than Black Panther. I'm sorry, Black Panther fans. The thing is about it is that I know a lot of particular group of people are praising this nomination because it is attack against the whitey. I get it.
Oh my fucking god! You're gonna get me
I
beat
get
to
it.
shit on that M train. You got.
I resent.
Major General?
Wasn't aware the studio had doors.
Anyway, Frank, if you will, back to your talking point.
Yeah, so like I don't mean to come off as insensitive because I clearly care about everything about this movie, but I do think that if people take this as a win, it's like one of those things where like you get like a 65 on a test and you're like, oh, I passed. That's great. But like you knew you could have gotten 100, but you just didn't care. But you took whatever you could just so you could get by because that was good enough for you. But you have so much more prestigious elements within you. I know I'm speaking in riddles, but what I'm saying is Black Panther is not of a prestigious mark, but other films are. But you put this film in place of that, and you take away a better movie because of it.
Okay, so I agree, and I think the Oscars are focusing a lot on diversity, which I think is a good thing. But it begs the question, are you going to nominate a film simply out of diversity, or are you going to pick the best of the best? And I think that's... oh, hello there.
Yeah, Barry. We're gonna need to hire that PR company that I had when you know that whole massacre situation happened. It's bad. It's bad. They don't seem to realize they have a pigment advantage in this conversation. I mean, one of them is caramel, the other one's sort of like a tawny yellow, and one of them is just brown. I mean, who's going to get crucified, Barry? You tell me. Sorry, just my lawyer.
Welcome back.
I'm going to need a lawyer. Listen, I think we have to be very careful about what we're saying. There are other films, and I think the best film should win. I think Black Klansman was a well-made film. Green Book was a better-made film. Beale Street was a good film. And perhaps Beale Street deserved the slot instead of Black Panther.
I think it does.
It's not a matter of, in my opinion, black or non-black films. I don't think we should even think of films in that category. No. You can if you'd like. It's about the best and merit. And the Black Panther was a good blockbuster. It certainly had a good villain, good themes, and ways that other superhero films don't think about. But I don't think it should have displaced other worthy contenders. But again, I can express that without causing massive rioting in the streets and personal attacks on Twitter or Facebook or whatever.
Okay, so I agree. I do, again, Black Panther, as you said, great story, great character, great villain, great world building, a good film. But again, I asked the same question. So, do you nominate a film out of diversity as opposed to nominating best of the best? 'Cause I think what I'm scared of is the Oscars are now trying to pander to every demographic that they're trying to get because the viewership is going down every year. So, is the Oscars nominating films because of diversity as opposed to just choosing the best of the best?
If the question is, are they nominating out of diversity? Absolutely yes. That's entirely what they're doing. It's all about pandering. It's all about, what's gonna get the most views among these different groups of people. I have to appease them. We have to appease them as the Oscars. It's not about merit anymore. It's not about merit. That's why they're handing out cinematography and film editing through the commercials!
Wait.
I think that pandering is the right word. I think diversity is not, because there were, in my opinion, more deserving diverse films. It was pandering because everyone, months and months beforehand, said Black Panther not should win, or be nominated, better. And if they don't, it's an insult. And there was a fear reaction and a worry about publicity and face. And that has more to do with pandering and keeping people happy than it does with diversity. Because again, there were other films that the millions of people who saw Black Panther didn't see that were diverse.
Right.
But because they saw that film and it meant something to them, that's what they're fighting for. And that's not unfair.
Right.
I want to leave it there because that feels like a safe thing you could post on Facebook using a real name. And it's something I believe. So going back to the cinematography and editing, that is another controversy. A controversy in which, and to be perfectly factual, they will be recording the winners for cinematography and editing and rebroadcasting. So they're being cut out of the broadcast.
And makeup and hairstyle and live action short.
So it is being relegated. It's still being shown, but people have taken this as a sign of disrespect and disregard. I have thoughts, but I'd like one of you guys to kick it off.
Alright, so here's what I think this is a bit dangerous. Not the actual move itself, but how the media portrayed it. Because how I was told of this was they're not including it at all. From what I heard from the media was that they were cutting it out entirely. But factually, that's not true. They are going to show the actual winner during the ceremony. I think it's a double-edged sword, to be honest, because everyone complains about how long the Oscars are. I never thought they were too long, but if it helps people f***ing sit through this goddamn ceremony, then sure. But I've always loved seeing all the nominees, and then they'll play a clip from each film that they made. I've always loved seeing that, and then of course, like them being chosen and then walking up the stairs. I've always liked that tradition, and I'm sad to see it go. But again, I'm just really glad. I'm just so fucking elated to hear that we are getting to see who wins, and we get to hear their speech, and they're being shown and represented and seen. And I think that's the most important part. I think the initial reaction was, "Holy shit! It's cut out of the Oscars. Like, what the fuck's going on?" But it's still there in a way, so I'm not that mad, but I'm still kind of peeved by it.
Does anyone else want to jump in? Because I have some thoughts, but alright.
Some think thoughts?
Some think thoughts. This is not the Oscars' fault. This is the viewers' fault.
Yes.
Because the Oscars puts on what people want to see. And people only care about the big ones. People care about the actors, the directors, the films, and maybe the screenplays, but not even.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
So, the fact that they're cutting back on this, one, they need to make it quicker and make it more interesting, but it's a reaction to people's lack of interest. I mean, can any of you name, not a film, but a person nominated for editing? Don't look it up. Don't look it up.
Too late.
Don't look it up.
He's not even here.
Don't look it up.
I forget their name.
No. Seriously, can one of you name one?
No.
Can you name someone being nominated for an actor category?
Yes, obviously.
Obviously.
Wait, did Alfonso Cuarón edit his film too?
No.
He just produced, direct, write, cast, and okay.
A little pettiness there. But my point is that they're just responding to our lack of interest.
Right.
They're responding to people only caring about the glitz and glamour, and the ceremony is already going to be boring enough without a host. They're trying to cut time. And it's not great, but it's not, though they thought this was a good idea, they're doing what they think is going to please people.
Right.
No, I agree. I think that there was a time when possibly the Oscars was about recognizing the best that there is out of film. But here's something to consider. Oscars are televised.
Right.
So it doesn't become an awards for films anymore. It becomes a televised program. And that's why I agree with Iverson. I'm sorry. Major General Allen Iverson. That's why I agree. Is that because now it's about a televised event, you also got to think about the people who are going to watch this televised event. Not the people who are going to watch this award ceremony for the best films out there. No, the people who are going to watch the televised event about the best films out there.
Because we, as
I was snapping like a hippie poet, being like, "Yes,
okay.
I like it." Yes.
It's just I just felt like you were kind of
No.
Yeah.
First of all, I'd have you court-martialed for misranking me, but that's a separate issue. I was snapping like a hippie beat poet, being like, "Yes, man, groovy, cool."
So, as cinema lovers, all four of us, I think, do
I
care.
can take it or leave it.
I prefer seeing
cinema.
cinema.
Yeah.
Oh well,
Call me. Whatever.
well,
I don't know if I love it.
I prefer having it. Then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I mean,
I mean, I wouldn't say that, you know, like we love cinema because, you know, then people might draw.
It's in my CPU. Like, I can't
Just
not.
appears immediately. Like I still have Garfield,
Yeah.
so I'll be okay.
Andrew Garfield?
No, like the cat
Yeah.
Right.
who eats lasagna and hates Mondays.
Right.
He'll still be there.
Yeah.
Always.
Cinema. I mean, listen. Take it or leave it.
Right. Anyway, back to the f***ing point. Anyway, so
Put up a GIF of Garfield from the Bill Murray movie.
as cinema lovers, I think it's crucial to see the winners and the nominees for Best Cinematography and Best Film Editing. I think that's a crucial, that's a must. Okay. So, I'm just glad that it's up there. If people want this fucking thing to be shorter, because I never gave a shit, but if people want this to be shorter, then fine. It'll be shorter, but like, you know, you have to cut something, and this is what they cut. So again, as you said, Major General, I think it's not the Oscars' fault, it's the people who are watching the Oscars who are complaining and saying, hey, it's too long, and just like dropping out at some point during the show.
Yeah, absolutely. When I think about that, I think about the Grammys, I think about the Emmys, I think about other award shows where it's kind of like televised and like you see performances and all that stuff. I think that there's a great extent to which is about the entertainment of the viewer.
Yeah.
And so that's what we see, not just on the Oscars, I think that's also what we see on the Grammys, and it's more about like, hey, what's entertaining, what's going to kind of like make people, I'm sorry, I'm not in my Bono Loco voice. I think in the Grammys and the Emmys, we see a very similar thing happening, where it's about, it's going to make the audience kind of pop out of their seat and feel like, this is a good award show. I really like seeing Cardi B perform along with Christopher Nolan and Hans Zimmer, you know? Like, it's about the entertainment value. I think that that's something that we're going to be seeing within, especially the next maybe like 10 coming years. And so, if the question is raised at any point of, is it possible that these award shows are going to be about what entertains the TV viewer? Absolutely.
Wait, did you just combine Cardi B, Christopher Nolan, and Hans Zimmer in one?
Oh, absolutely. Do you not know about the works of Cardi B and Hans Zimmer? Do you not know about the latest single, Dunkirk soundtrack coming out next month?
So what was Roma about?
It was an important film. It doesn't matter what it was about. It's an important film. It's important. And if you don't subscribe to that as important, you are a bigot!
That doesn't even make sense.
I do think it's the Oscars' fault.
Really?
I do.
Wow.
Because they give in to a minority, like a very small percentage of, not minorities, but a minority.
Oh, you're just like picking up the shovel and just going back to the hole and saying, well, 6 feet isn't deep enough to bury me. Why don't I go 10 or 12 feet? Then the worms won't even get me. I'll be down with the shale and the bedrock.
A lot of... I'm a minority too. Alright, here we go. I'm a fox. So it's the Oscars' fault. And here's why. Because they gave in. They caved. They let other people tell them what to do. They listened to people telling them so-and-so deserves this and that. And they gave in because they got scared. Because they were scared. They ran numbers. They ran statistics. Like any Hollywood studio producer, whatever, does. And they think, well, if we appeal to this, then they'll shut the fuck up. That's what they want to do. They just want to get them to shut the fuck up. And then once they get what they want, they get bitched on by something else. Like the Kevin Hart thing, for example. You can't fucking say like he's black, you know, and like you can't be racist about it because he's a black comedian. So you're like, you gotta find some dirt on him now.
He earlier in his STEM career made some homophobic jokes that people consider to be a bad taste.
So what? Like, where does people come from?
So here's my counter argument, right? Not to you, to them. So other hosts have made crude jokes. That's not unheard of. So you had Chris Rock host the Oscars. He made a bunch of crude jokes. So I don't understand why, because in his past he made crude jokes, doesn't allow him to host the Oscars. I'm not saying he'll be good, because I don't know if he'd be good at hosting the Oscars, but
Kevin Hart is entertaining. I think he'd be good.
yeah, he is. I'm just annoyed as to why this controversy was such a big deal.
Because Hollywood has to prove how woke they are. They had to prove how woke they are. We're so woke and we're so tolerant that we're gonna cut out this comedian who made this joke back in 2008. Yeah, that's about going off script, mind you. Oh, look at me, I'm Kevin Hart. Oh, I made a joke and I apologize for it multiple fucking times! He referenced exactly what he said. He referenced that he's sorry that he did it multiple fucking times. Kevin Hart, his fucking self, said that if you want to put that energy into going back to my old tweets, you can put the same fucking energy into all the tweets and all the jokes and all the stand-ups that I did where I addressed what I said and I apologize for it. But that's not enough because we have to be woke. We're Hollywood. We have to be woke and we're tolerant. So we're going to cut out Kevin Hart no matter what.
So yeah, don't
fight me on this. Fight me, Twitter, I dare you. Look up Vital Look on Twitter and try to dox me, I dare you.
Please don't tag me in this.
Alright,
Can you please cut this out?
I agree with Vita, very much so. It's Hollywood's fault for giving in to these people that they think run their business. I guess they're like this backlash, but here's a thing that no one ever thought about. Frontlash. So hear me out. Now, I remember when
I lost my mind. Something so special about it.
Hang on. Can you fucking... Frank has a very important point to bring up, and I'm not just saying that because I feel a similar way. Go ahead, Frank.
When news dropped that
slay these people.
If you want him to talk, let him talk.
Yes, when news dropped that Kevin Hart will no longer be hosting the Oscars, it was on his official Instagram. Yes, I think it was on Ellen too. When he guested on Ellen and he apologized again, and Ellen supported him, and there was backlash there. But in that post that she posted, I read the comments. A lot of them were supportive, and only a few were backlashy. So there's a better frontlash than backlash. The negatives always seem to proceed over the positives, but there's more positive than there's negative, and people just like to focus on the negative because they're fucking idiots.
So just to run down the facts really quick. So Kevin Hart was slated to host the Oscars. Someone unearthed some old material he did, some old jokes that were in poor taste with modern understanding, maybe in poor taste in 2008 or 2006, whenever it was, making some homophobic statements. Kevin had apologized for it in the past, and he apologized again. People didn't really think his new apology was sincere, and his argument was that since he apologized before, he was sort of tired of it. People said that wasn't good enough. He should have been more prostrate or more whatever. He went on to Ellen, but he was potentially removed from the Oscars, so that was sort of a gray area. He went on to Ellen, she supported him, said that she knew him personally, knew the sort of person he was, and that he'd grown and changed, and she said that she would speak to some of the Oscar people, because Hollywood's kind of a weird intermingling shesh bit, and try to get him back in. He said he'd support that, and apparently behind the scenes, or maybe out in the open, they offered it back to him, and he said no because he was tired of the whole circus. So it was originally them turning on him because of the public outcry, again, bending to the will of the public, but then later he was just fed up. So the part of the reason we have no host is that Kevin Hart didn't want to play the game anymore, and he's big enough that he doesn't have to. But now we have no host, so an already kind of dull show is going to be even duller.
Yeah, no, I agree with Kevin Hart and that decision, because, you have, imagine, oh, sorry, we'll have you on again, right? That whole thing, oh, sorry, you apologize. I think you're a good guy. We don't think you're homophobic because we're not homophobic because we make gay films all the time. So and you were a woman on SNL once, so that means you're part of the LGBTQ now. So here we go. And he's like, no, I'm not gonna do that because the second he goes on stage, he just has to talk about the situation, and that's so awkward to just have to just address it again, because if it's not, then he looks insensitive on live camera, on live television, It's a lose-lose situation because it's blown over, but it's too late. It's too late. People are gonna just comment. It's gonna be they would tune in if they did go on with it, but it will be bad publicity.
Just for the people wanting to see what would happen, people would tune in to see.
Right.
To see the controversy, to see if he had a bad reaction or what his jokes were.
So he made a very interesting point on one of his Instagram posts. He said, listen, I'm 40 years old now. If if you don't think that people can change and grow over time, I don't know what to tell you. And fucking yes when I heard that. Because that's really what it is that we are becoming very weird as a society. I'm going to backtrack that. I'm going to start that point again. He made a very interesting point on Instagram, Kevin Hart, where he said that basically, I'm 40 years old now, guys. If you can accept that people can change and grow over time, I don't know what to tell you. And that's the thing. I think that we're getting to a point where we can actually accept that Kevin Hart can change and grow over time. The problem is, unfortunately, is that Hollywood is just a little bit not up to date, so they're gonna be like, oh well, if people had a problem with Kevin Hart, we gotta cut him out of the Oscars entirely, so we're gonna tell you, Kevin Hart, I don't think you can host the Oscars. And then Kevin, rightfully so, is like, you know what, yeah, I'm not gonna host the Oscars anymore. Yeah, you guys are good. So now that's why we're without a host. I don't know where I was going with that point. I'm about to look up.
So all right. So there's a lot to unpack there. So look, I don't think it's Hollywood that's the issue. They are always just reactionary. They react to whatever the mainstream people, the general populace reacts to, right? And the general populace was like, well, he's clearly homophobic. He's clearly, you know, he said this joke and we don't feel good about it. All right, sure. So Hollywood and the Oscars were reacting to that reaction. So it's not Hollywood. It's just the people reacting to it. And their reactions, I'm not going to say is right or wrong. That's their choice. That's their reaction. I can't blame you for having that reaction. But I am just kind of disheartened a little bit. The fact that Kevin Hart had to back down because of this controversy.
I do have a thought, and I think it actually might serve as a good closing thought if you guys are getting to a point where you think you've said your piece. Hollywood is in the business of being liked.
Right.
And that goes back to everything we discussed. The Black Panther and the popular movie situation, they don't want to be disliked. And that's something that's true of them as a business, but also the individual people. Actors, directors, these are people who want to be liked. They need to be liked to stay alive. Careers are built on being likable, being enjoyed, people feeling like you're their friend even though you're thousands of miles away in a giant mansion. That's what they need to do to continue and to feel content. And so they have to get rid of people that threaten that, and Kevin Hart threatened that, and not having certain films be nominated threatens that. And so it's going to continue like this. And I think the real culprit is the people, for good or ill. They can cause more diversity, which could very well be a good thing. It seems like it's produced some very good films, gotten films in the limelight that wouldn't have been before, but it also can create a reactionary, fearful culture. So it's really up to the community to stand up for what they believe in terms of film and media. If you wanted him to host or you wanted certain films to be nominated, you need to speak loudly enough for that to be heard. That's the real way that things are changed. At the end of the day, it's just a televised program, as people have said. And that's all it's ever going to be. It's up to everyone else to care.
It's the pros and cons of how social media and people react to certain things. And I think, you know, as you said, we have a pretty good lineup of diverse films. You know, Bohemian Rhapsody stars an Egyptian actor. That's kind of rare. And you know, a Green Book, Black Klansman, Black Panther, and we have a lot of people also behind the scenes who are people of color, which I think is a great thing. You know, but again, just the reactionary take on people might cause good things and some bad things. And I think the Kevin Hart thing, in my opinion, was one of the, not bad, but like one of the more negative things that happened to the Oscars this year.
Talking solely on Kevin Hart here, if you're someone originally that did not like Kevin Hart and still don't because after hearing this, then that's fine. But also understand that opinions do change and people do change with that. And hopefully that your opinion will change as you get older. Because if you think that you are so f***ing righteous, you got another thing coming. You are nothing but a piece of shit. So don't forget that. Alright, so when it comes to opinions again, you definitely should be allowed to express them no matter how you feel. Which is why we do it. And which is why we do it behind microphones and behind these animated characters. Because we are also in fear of this backlash, like the lack of support, because we feel like we can't say what we need to say in front of a camera, but we feel like we should. And I think everyone should feel like they should. And also, they should also feel that they can get backlash for what they're saying, but also at the same time, not ruining anything for anyone else.
Oh no, Kevin Hart made a joke about gay people back in 2009? Oh my god, what a fucking national tragedy! Oh my god, we have to cancel him forever! Oh, Kevin Hart is canceled forever! I can't handle an opinion different than mine. He should never be allowed to do anything again. He should be canceled, he should be removed from comedy. Oh my god, look at me, I'm so righteous. Hold a mirror up to me and you'll find that I'm the most righteous person ever, even though I probably said some shit back in 2009 that I'm probably fucking regretful about. Oh my god, look at me, I'm such a righteous person! That's all you fucking do! You just fucking sit on the computer, you fucking neat, and you're fucking like, this person said this problematic thing. It's like, what if you have probably said some very problematic things yourself. I'm looking right at you, my entire 50% of my Facebook feed. Look at you. Hold yourself up to the mirror and say the same thing to yourself, or get the fuck out of my face.
So I know I've pontificated, but at the end of the day, the Oscars is just the opinion of an elite club. And movies are about the people or for the people watching, right? Like what you like, love what you love, don't let anyone else tell you different, and listen to more domestic theater. I've been Major General Alan Iverson.
That's very good. Just props to you, that's really good. Sorry. I'm Cyberdroid.
And I've been Vita Loco.
And I've been Frank.